So now I'm going to switch it over to Ms. Anna. She's going to kind of show you how to create a chatbot within HubSpot.
Thanks so much, Dana. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Bear with me a moment. All right. Perfect. So folks should now see I am inside of my own test URL environment that I wanted to use today to just walk you through some of what you can be thinking about in terms of setting up your own chatbot environment. So when creating a chatbot, you're actually going to go right into conversations and you will see this chat flows option here. And we are going to go up into the corner here and create chat flow. You'll notice I have a few other chats in here and there's a section above them that says priority. We're going to come back to this after we've gone through the chatbot today, but this is important and I do want to talk more about this in a bit. So we'll go ahead and we will create our chat flow. And the first question that you're asked is to determine where do you want to add this chat flow. So Dana gave a great example of a Facebook-based chatbot with Wells Fargo. You do have the decision as to whether you want the chatbot to live on your website, whether you want it to exist through Facebook Messenger. For simplicity's purposes today, we're going to go ahead and just host it on the website. And then, as is often the case with HubSpot, when creating a new asset or creating something within the software, you're going to see that there's lots of suggestions here of existing templates based on common use cases for chatbots that you may lean into when you're initially creating your chatbot. So instead of completely reinventing the wheel, it's good to first take a look at these and see, this meetings bot actually accomplishes exactly what it is that I want to do. Why not use this template rather than completely build it myself? I do want to point out that the bot options that are surfaced here and suggested for you as templates are going to be based on your subscription level. So what you can do with chatbots in HubSpot will be somewhat contingent upon what HubSpot subscription you have, whether it's inclusive of something like Service Hub Pro or Service Hub Enterprise or Sales Pro or Enterprise. Or Marketing Pro or Enterprise. So that's just something to be aware of if you're seeing different results surfacing here. We're going to start from scratch, however, just so that we can really see all of the options. And I do want to point out that the look and the feel of this bot in terms of the branding, the color usage, the imagery here, this can all be customized within your conversation settings in HubSpot. So you do have the opportunity to make this look more aligned with what your particular brand is and what makes sense for the color scheme for your website. So we'll go ahead and select next. You do need to have had an inbox set up within your conversations inbox to be able to create your chatbot. And you need to determine where is the messaging from this particular chatbot going to be living. So if you have multiple conversations inboxes already set up, you'll want to select from these so that it is going into the right inbox. And then you have the opportunity to also confirm what is the primary language that you're going to be using your chatbot for. All right, and then we'll hit create. And so this takes us to the building blocks for our chatbot. Before we go too far into building it, I want to draw your attention to the sections at the top here, particularly target and display. So something to be aware of when you are building a chatbot is that you can build distinct chatbots for different pages of your website. You may want to build a specific chatbot for your pricing page, for example, whereas you want a different chatbot that's going to have different intentions and likely be surfaced to a different team living on your existing customer FAQ page or something that would speak to the needs of folks who already use or own your product or service. So you have the ability to determine where the chat is going to be showing. Also very important is that you have the ability to determine to whom the chatbot should be shown. So for example, you can create filters based on list membership of a contact. If you have created gated content behind a login, you have the ability to determine whether or not exclusively logged in visitors can be able to access this content. You can even go into specifics around country of origin, the call to action that they may have clicked to have arrived there, form view. So you should be thinking about all of this in terms of when building a chatbot, what is the strategy behind it? What is the goal of the chatbot? and to whom is the chatbot looking to serve, so that the questions that you're asking are optimally going to be taking into consideration some of the filters that you might put in place in terms of when, where, and how this chatbot will be utilized. Within the display section, you also have the ability to customize things like the chat heading, the chat display behavior. Do you want it to show up right away? Do you want to wait a little bit before the chatbot shows up so that someone's been on the page longer before the chat surfaces to them? So you, again, have options based on what the intention of the chatbot is to really customize this experience for the user. And then you also have the ability to customize some of the options with regards to availability and even the creation of contacts as marketing contacts from the chatbot itself. These are all really important features and also important considerations in the decision-making process and design around your chatbot. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to these when you first go ahead and start building. Before we build out the building blocks of the chatbot itself, we're also going to go ahead and name our chatbot. So this is a very uncreative name, but we'll just do test chatbot February 17th. So the first option that you have here is your welcome message. This is the message that's going to be hovering over your bot when you first build it. You can customize this as you see fit. If got any questions, I'm happy to help, works for your business, you can leave it there. But if you want to be more specific, especially if you have really filtered to whom the chatbot is appearing, you've got the ability to do so and to hone that language further. And then we'll go into our first bot message. And you may have noticed these building blocks look a little bit similar to the building blocks behind workflows or the automation tools in HubSpot. So if you're already familiar with this, this may, look and feel quite similar to what you would have built previously in terms of this. So your first bot message here is typically going to be determining what is the path that this contact or this user should be brought down based on the options that we want to present to them. So once you have defined the intention of your bot, you also want to make sure that you're figuring out what are the options or pathways that we want to be able to take a contact down to be able to solve for them. So you can start out, again, the suggestion here is a very simple question. Hi, how can I help you today? And what I'd say here is that there's a little bit of a fine line between wanting to, use language that is human and create a comfortable experience for the user, and not trying to trick the user into thinking that they are actually chatting with a human. We've all had experiences with chatbots. I think we're all pretty aware of when we are interacting with a bot as opposed to a human. We understand what the purpose of bots are. So I would say be clear and specific about what the outcome of the use of the bot can be, and don't get caught up in trying to replicate human interaction by way of trying to trick someone into thinking that they're actually in a live chat instead. Again, specification about the purpose of how the bot can be used and what it can solve for is going to be important here. So now we can go ahead and start to put in our quick reply. So what are the options that we want to present to this particular user? So let's say learn about pricing. Another option, we're talking about a product, training, and then finally we can put in third one, other. We're disabling open responses here so that we can create a clean if-then experience based on the quick replies that they have to choose from. You'll also see you always have the ability to save this information to a HubSpot property. So if for some reason this information that you're gathering here would actually be valuable for you to live on the contact record and you've got a property set up to capture this information, you'd have the ability to do so. In this particular case, there's no value for me to keep this on the contact record as a property, so I'm not going to be saving it. But if it did, I could do so. So we're going to go ahead and add that question in. And so we have a few different options. So we want to start to build out our pathways. So I'm going to start by managing my if-then branches. And I'm going to go ahead and add an if-then branch here. So if my visitor's response is any of, and let's say, learn about pricing, I'm going to go ahead and go to a new action. And again, very similar to the experience in automation, you're going to see similar opportunities bubbling up here that you might see if you were building a workflow. And so I want to go ahead and ask a question. I want to make sure that I have the contact information for this individual. before we go too far along in assigning them to sales. I want to make sure I've got the opportunity to actually create them as a contact. And so making sure that I've captured their name and their email address if it doesn't already exist in the system is going to be key. So you'll see I can easily use the template here to gather their name. And I can actually skip this action if the property already exists. So if the system has picked up the user information for this particular user, I don't need to ask them to duplicate this information for me. I can skip this action because I already have it in the system. I'm going to uncheck this box for these purposes, however. So I will go ahead and hit save. Hit save again. I'm going to keep on adding to this particular option. So let's see here. I've added save the responses to the contact name. I'm also going to go ahead and gather their email address. Again, I've got the ability to skip the action if the property already exists. And then finally, I want to send this to a team member. So they want to learn about pricing. I want to get them connected to my sales team right away. So I'm going to name this action assign to sales so that anyone looking at this chatbot understands what's happening here. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to a particular team. And I'll go ahead and assign it to my sales team so that if someone is online for my sales team, it will get assigned to them right away. And if not, or if it's outside of business hours or they're unassigned, then it will bubble up one of these two messages to set expectations about when they can expect to hear from the sales team. So I'll go ahead and hit save. So now I want to go back to my if-then branches here. I've already created one branch, and now I want to add another. So we talked about learn about pricing. Let's talk about training instead. So if all of these responses are true, again, I'm going to go to a new action. And instead of asking for their name and email address, which we've talked about as best practice here, I'm going to eliminate that just for simplicity's sake and instead go ahead and send a simple message. And so I have actually put together this amazing training video that lives in my HubSpot videos that I've created that are hosted by Vidyard. And so I'm going to go ahead and send this training video right over to them because I found that this training video answers about 95% of the questions that the users that I'm encountering have. And so as long as this solves for them, this will probably seriously limit the number of tickets that I may need to respond to within my support team. So I'm going to go ahead and say, here is a helpful training video. And then I can go in here and I've got this little video icon and I can actually insert a video from one of my Vidyard videos that I've recorded in the system and share this right into the chat. And this is actually a feature that rolled out this year so that this video is going to be accessible within the chat itself. They can stream it, watch it live within the chat. They don't need to open up a new link to be able to access it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And I'm just going to see if there are any other questions. And I'll say, oops, additional questions is my internal name. Any other questions? I'm going to add in some quick replies. Yes, no, save. And then based on this, I want to create another if-then branch so that if their answer is yes, I'm going to go to a new action. And again, I am going to send to a team member. But this time I'm going to assign it to my services team and hit save. And I also want to create an option if they say no. And I can just say, Thanks. Have a great day. You'll notice you also have the ability to add in a contact token here, add in links, so that if there's other information that you want to include here as a parting message, you've got the ability to do so and also to personalize it further. And then the final option that we want to run here is going back up to our other option, going back into manage if then branches. I've got if they wanted to learn about pricing, I've got if they wanted to learn about training, but we had an option for other. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new action, but this time I'm going to submit a ticket. I want to give someone the opportunity to basically create a ticket around this so that someone within my servicing team can follow up and respond. So again, I'm going to name the action, create a ticket. I can customize the ticket name, so I can add a contact token in here. So the ticket name will default to issue from bot chat, but then I could add in a contact token, such as the name of the contact, any other information of the contact that I have saved to their contact record. I can assign it to a specific pipeline. I can set the status, and I can ask them to put in their description so that I can make sure that this is captured in the ticket itself, as well as setting the priority of the ticket. So based on Chatbot's tickets that we see coming in, we've generally found them to be low priority, something that the team can work to turn around within our standard SLA of 48 hours. And I will go ahead and hit save. Okay. So when you are building your chatbots, you can go ahead and always preview what the experience is right up here. So when you're testing this out, obviously in this case, we built a number of different branches. So I want to make sure that I built this appropriately and that it works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pretend to be a user, and I'm going to select the first option that we talked about, which is learn about pricing. As expected, the bot is asking my name. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. It's asking for my email address. Great, that's what we expected. Oops, I put in my email address incorrectly, but that's okay. All right, and this is great. I have the expectation set that a member of the team will be in touch soon. I know that this contact record is unassigned, so I can expect to be hearing from the sales rep who is assigned to me once that internal assignment process happens. So now I want to go through and just double check the training experience. So again, as we talked about, I did not ask to gather any information about name or email address when building this out. So I did expect that the user experience would be that I would be viewing this video right away. I've got the ability to play the video directly within the chat. And then I've been surfaced this additional question as to whether or not I have any other questions. I'm going to go ahead and say no. This helped. And great, thanks. Have a great day. That was what I expected. I'll restart this and just check the last one for other. So I selected other. Awesome. And so now I'm going to describe my problem. And a ticket will be created. Again, optimally in this case, the chatbot should have gathered name and email address to make sure that the ticket itself is really robust and captures all of the information. But I did just want to quickly show you how that information can be pulled in. And then the ticket will be assigned to the appropriate pipeline in the appropriate stage and with the information that was gathered within the chatbot itself. So this is the general steps that you have in terms of building out a chatbot with multiple if-then journeys and some complexity in terms of it. As I mentioned at the beginning, I did want to go back to this front page here just to highlight something, which is that as we talked about, you can limit to whom a chatbot appears based on certain factors. So again, list membership, as well as a few other engagement metrics that you can use to determine whether or not a chatbot should appear. But what can happen is you may have 2 or 3 different chatbots that could appear on, let's say, your website pricing page. And there could be a contact who actually falls into the category of having 2 of those 3 chatbots appear to them. So what you can do here is set the priority of your chatbots. So you'll see whenever you see something like a little I in HubSpot, I always recommend hovering over. It usually means that there's more information here. You can drag and drop to reorder your chat flow so that if a visitor to your website matches more than one chat flow based on targeting settings, they're only going to see the one with the highest priority. So again, understanding what the objectives of your chat flows are, what the priorities around them, what the goals behind them, and having that really clearly defined is going to only further help you in terms of being able to set these chatbot settings overall. So that was just a quick overview of how you can go ahead and set up a chatbot in HubSpot. I hope that was helpful and inspires you to start to go in and build them out for yourselves. In addition to taking the place of live chat, I also encourage the customers that I work with to think about chatbots in the place of forms. If you rely really heavily on forms, or perhaps you're not seeing some of the form conversion that you're expecting, it may be worth testing out what the experience is like with a chatbot to see if there's a higher engagement rate there, and if you're doing a better job converting contacts on your page through the use of a bot instead. Sometimes the interactions that folks have and the way the information is gathered from them just feels a little bit more human, friendly, personalized than going through the completion of a form. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen.